One.
Welcome to the Handyman Pros Radio Show Action Edition, where we feature feedback from you, our listeners. I'm here with my old buddy Larry. And Larry, what's been going on?
The handyman business has been going on, John. It goes on and on and on and on. But anyway, I was in a customer's house the other day, and I just wanted to kind of tell the story because I think it's a great action tip. So I was in this customer's house, and we were actually trying to work on the electric system. I wanted to turn off a breaker, right? So I said, well, by chance, do you know where your breaker box is? And she did take me to the breaker box, and she shows me, and she says, but I have no idea. We open the box, nothing's labeled. She says to me, she goes, is there any way that we can figure out how to label this? And I said to myself, there is a way, isn't there, John?
And I'll tell you that it's kind of funny that you ran across that, because you and I both we were working on a house, and that breaker box, where the circuit breakers are, that thing was so mislabeled and so screwed up that you couldn't tell what was what, And I just remember the days, when you're working on a circuit, folks, it really behooves you to disconnect the circuit breaker if you can, instead of playing with live wires.
Yes.
Because it doesn't take much to stop a human heart. And I'll tell you that I remember growing up when I was in Chicago, and my dad would be downstairs. Now, when the homes are little, it's not
it's not as big a deal.
Pulling fuses and stuff. Is the light off yet? And then I'd have to be a smart ass and say, I can't hear you. What do you mean you can't hear me? Go to the next one. Anyways, it would be one after the other, and that's the way I used to do it too. Is you start to flip breakers.
Yeah.
These days everything's kind of a computer. We're very sensitive to electrical impulses that you're flipping things back on or off, and then you're gonna have to reset clocks, and everybody knows their routine when their lights come back on after a storm or whatever. And I said, well, I know that the electricians, they all have them as circuit breaker finders.
Yep.
And it's just a really nice little tool. It's a two-piece tool. You plug one end into the outlet, and then you have the other end, and it sends this thing that you plug into the outlet sends a signal through, and you have another responder that you go to the receiver and go to the breaker box, and a few steps here, but in short, you just scan the breaker box, and it starts to light up what breaker that is. So that way you're not flipping breakers back on and off and things if you're going to work on that electrical circuit. And it really is not only a tremendous time saver, but it really allows me to not even second guess working on an electrical circuit that I just need to turn off, instead of say, well, I'm just going to chance it. I'm like, no. So people that are doing this kind of work, it's really a great tool. And I'll tell you that it probably is only like 20, I don't know, maybe $30, somewhere around there.
I was looking online the other day when you'd mentioned that, and it's in my to buy list at this point. But they run anywhere from about $30 and up. We're going to go, like all tools, right? There's some really, really advanced ones that are really, really pricey. I mean, they were pricey. They were $200 or $300, but we're not saying buy that. But there are some ones for about $30 to $50 that are very, very adequate to do most of these kinds of jobs, because it really is. So, folks, we're going to take a step back and talk about when you flip that breaker off and you flip it back on, it puts a surge through the wire. So it's kind of like getting punched, and that's what your computers and all your anything that has electronics in it today, it's like getting punched. Back in the day, you talked about fuses, John, because you and I both have worked on a lot of older houses, and it's like we talk about pressure regulator valves on water. Back in the day, they didn't put a pressure regulator valve on because there was nothing that was going to break. It was all made out of metal, and you couldn't put enough water pressure in it to break it. Well, that's the analogy draws the same to electric. Back in the day, there was nothing that was susceptible to a surge, really susceptible to a surge like there is today. anything that's got a computer in it is susceptible to a surge, and you just don't want that surge. You don't want to be, it's basically you don't want to keep body punching that thing all the time by flipping your breakers on and off. Plus, there was that time when we turned the computer off and somebody had just finished their manuscript and then dumped the whole No, I'm just kidding. But that 1,000-page book got lost. But no, you don't want to. You just don't want to do that. So this is a tool that's going to allow you to go out and actually, literally test, and particularly if you're going to do anything in electric, more so than just as a homeowner. Like you and I, John, we need it. It's not even really a question. We need these things. And then it's going to also allow us to actually map out people's circuits so they actually know. We'll get a label maker, John, and we're going to stick it on there. We're going to say this is the bedroom for, XYZ. Because one of my favorite pet peeves is you go into the electrical box and the electrician's written everything down, except his handwriting is worse than mine.
It's awful. It really is. I understand those guys need to get in and out and do those, but man, I'll tell you, more often than not, it's awful.
Yeah, you can't even read it. It's like, what is that? Where is that? Yeah. So anyway, that's our tip, right, John? Is there anything more on that? Yeah,
it's just
circuit breaker finders?
So much easier. It's so much easier. It's so much cleaner to do it. And I'll just end it this way: is that if you're doing this stuff by yourself, you really need something like this, because today's homes are much more complex. They're bigger. And, trying to find a circuit by yourself, what are you going to do? Put a radio on real loud and see if, flipping all the breakers to see if it goes off, but something like this, you're guaranteed to find it and be safe.
Yeah. And there's an accessory tool. If you want to check the lights, they actually have a screw in light fixture that you can plug these things into, so you can actually check your lighting circuits as well. So anyway, I forgot to mention that earlier, but so think about a circuit breaker tester. Really a great thing. If you have any questions, give us an email, questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. Go to our website at handymanprosradioshow.com. Leave us a voice message if you want. Up on the right-hand corner, you can drop us a voice message. Join our Facebook group at Handyman Pros Radio Show, or, send us smoke signals or whatever. Right, John? I mean, we're easy to get a hold of.
Yes, sir.
All right, and we'll talk to you next week.